Hi everyone and welcome along. In the UK it is Mother's Day this Sunday, so today we're going to do a gorgeous card that also doubles up as a bookmark. So a gift as well as a card all in one. Grab your paints and let's get started. So we've got a slightly different shaped piece of watercolour paper to normal, and that's because we're going to do a lovely bookmark that also works as a card for Mother's Day. So this bit of paper is 5 centimetres across, and then the length, well, what have we got here? It's probably about 18 centimetres long, but obviously just make it whatever length you feel suitable. Now I've got my pencil and set square here because we're going to be painting a rectangle of colour inside the boundaries of the watercolour rectangle. However, I would encourage you, if you're feeling confident, to freehand it. So what I'm doing is I'm just mixing up some yellow ochre and permanent rose just to make a really lovely blush colour, nice and dilute as well, so adding water into the palette to create a lovely dilute colour there. And yeah, what you could do is, with your set square and things, is draw your guideline and stuff. But I'm just going to have a go. See what happens, because I like the slight wobble you get with a hand-drawn line. I've also got my nice flathead brush. It's also got a few wayward bristles, so you know what? I might trim those off. This is a really good point, actually. So you see there's 1 or 2 bristles that are just hanging out there, and that happens through wear and tear. You can just trim those off, so that's what I'm going to do. Right, so that's trimmed and nice, so here we go with some paint, and I'm going to create a very dilute rectangle of colour just from using this brush. That's the beauty of this brush. I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm not really sure why I would need that brush in my kit, but it's for moments like these. So we're going to let this dry fully, and it's a very, very pale colour, but once it's dried we'll have a lovely crisp line on the outline, and then we can start doing our design on top. So that's lovely and dry now, and I am going to use the pencil one more time because I want to do a little message on it saying Happy Mother's Day, and I'm going to use curves. So I'm just going to turn it over and just in capitals, Happy Mother's and then Day. Okay, so that is drawn in. So now this means I can start to draw in my flowers. So what I'd like to do is to sort of have a few stems that sort of come up, and sort of some that sort of go up in between, some that come and sort of overlap out the sides, so a bit of that, a bit of that. But I think also we'll have a few that just sort of lean in, and yeah, we'll just sort of build it as we go. But I think drawing in things in pencil can be quite a good idea. Because it's spring, I thought, well, flowers are just always a good idea, aren't they? And of course we need to leave a little space for the top because we're going to put in a hole and put a little tassel on the top. So with my flowers I need a few colours, don't I? So let's get some greens mixed up. Sap green is always a great starting point. And then there's no one green in nature, so you always want to make sure you've got some other shades mixed up either side. So I've got green gold here, hooker's green, which is a really vibrant fresh green, but then also things like a blue tone. We've got cobalt blue deep here, bit of Prussian blue is always nice. So all these colours, they wake up in the palette. So I'm adding water to everything before we get started. Payne's grey is here. And then also colours like yellow ochre, they're really good as well. So I'm going to create a few green shades in the palette first, before I get going. And we've just got green on its own, green gold, mixed with a bit of sap green, lots of lovely tones. And I've got a rigger brush. I've actually got a brand new one, so I take the tube off. Oh, brand new brushes need a little bit of a massage of the bristles and get them in the water, just get them nice and bendy. So whenever you buy a brush from me, it needs a little bit of a massage. Oh, any of us probably could do with a nice massage before we get going in the morning. Anyway, so we've got all sorts of brushes here. We've got the 2/10, 4/10 zeros, the really mini ones here, which are going to be great for little bits of detail. And then we've got some larger ones, 2, 4, 6, 8, for painting in the flowers, the leaves, all that kind of thing. But then of course we need some colour for our flowers too. So let's get those colours mixed up. We've got permanent rose, nice and ready. Some cadmium orange, just wake that up. So we're just waking up all the colours and then we are good to go. We don't have a huge amount of room for lots of massive flowers, so I'm going to begin by just almost sort of creating a little buttercup kind of flower. So I've got cadmium yellow, and we'll have one just creeping out the side, creating this little petals and little buds just by sort of using the thin to thick to thin of the brush round a sort of central point. We can also do, I've got some permanent rose mixed with some cobalt blue deep to make some nice sort of, it's almost like lavender type flowers. So again, using the size 2 brush to just do some dabs down one of these long slender stems, and I'll do one just coming off the side here as well. I'm not always going to be following my pencil lines exactly if I suddenly feel like the painting wants to go in a slightly different direction. We haven't got a huge amount of room for really big flowers, like I said, but what we can have a go at. So I'm going to place in just some little dabs here, almost like a buttercup we've had, and then I'm going to take some quite dilute cobalt blue and very carefully, with not too many brush strokes and a little bit of unpainted space, create almost like a little pansy or primrose kind of colour blend petal. It's very important not to over mix those. You can see we just very gently touched the yellow to the blue, and then just adding a little bit of stronger cobalt blue deep in there just to get a little bit more blue colour. So we're just slowly building up these shapes. I think I'm going to put in some stronger permanent rose and yellow ochre, actually, just mixing that colour together. That is the colour of the background, however, will be absolutely fine because it's much stronger. And now I'm just creating a sort of, I'm not even sure what kind of flower this is, but I'm just creating a little one basically. So central petal, just using the thin to thick to thin of the brush, and then from that central base point just sort of scribbling the brush out there, and then taking some alizarin crimson and just dabbing it. Do you see, if I dab it in the base whilst it's still wet, it spreads up and just looks really, really lovely. So I'm going to do another one there, slightly smaller. And I'm also going to do one that sort of disappears off the side, you see, like that, because we do need to make sure that we've got some that are not coming out the side, just for a little bit of an optical trick. So we're gradually letting things dry as we go up, and then I'm going to do a little bit of a sort of cone flower daisy type thing with my cadmium orange, and I'm going to have that one just hiding behind the border, and a little bit of pink, a bit of permanent rose. That's looking rather nice for colour for flowers. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting in bits of green, bits of greenery. So whether it is sort of like a lavender stem, which is just sort of dotting in between, and then going to be coming down like that. Or if it's actually going to be some leaves, some foliage in its own right, just play around, keep things, oh, that's not green yet, got a bit of pink on there. Play around with the colours, don't just put the same colour in, but I am personally trying to leave gaps for the lettering to give it lots of space. So if you need another pencil line, that's fine. If you struggle with leaf painting, and I know many people do when they're starting out, then I have plenty of lovely helpful tutorials in my Watercolour for Beginners playlist, and also in some of the quick fixes. We've got some really good sort of drills almost to help you paint really good leaves and foliage. But the other thing is just equipping yourself with good brushes. So the rigger brush is an amazing brush that allows you to paint really long, languid lines. Someone was asking me recently, what's the difference between this and just one of the detail brushes like one of these? And the big difference is that the length of the bristles means that you can paint these amazingly long, smooth lines that even if your hand sort of runs out of room, it won't be particularly visible when you're using the rigger brush. So I've been filling it up with a range of different bits and pieces, different flowers, and do feel like you can repeat flowers if you run out of ideas. And now I'm just mixing a bit of burnt sienna and Payne's grey together to just create this cone flower centre here. And if there's any other flowers you feel like you want a little bit more detail on them, maybe the little buttercups might want a few dabs of orangey colour in the middle. But this is all meant to be a nice simple, not overly detailed piece. Now, for the lettering, this is a very personal choice depending on whether you like to use a brush or a biro. I'll use a brush because I am a watercolour tutor and I do try to keep things consistent. Now, I mean, I'm just about to paint it in black, but I suddenly thought, what if I painted it in a really nice deep dark purpley colour? So if I took some of the colours I used for lavender, maybe a bit of alizarin crimson as well, that could be cool. Maybe a bit of Payne's grey. I'm just mixing up a strange old mix of something. You just need a strong dark colour and then a brush with which you're comfortable. 4/10 is always a good shout for me. Yeah, just make sure you're not, well, make sure you don't have a bit of fluff on the brush for a start. And just paint in your letters. That's why it is always a very good idea to draw them in beforehand. Now, of course, I'm doing this for Mother's Day, but you could write absolutely anything on your bookmark. You could personalise it with a name, or this book belongs to, that kind of thing, or maybe a quote from your favourite book. I go backwards because I'm left-handed, but don't feel like you need to. Okay, so we'll get this all drawn in and then finish it off. So our bookmark is all dry, I've rubbed out the pencil, and I've got a few new bits and pieces. So this is called a crocodile, and it's a great hole punch. I mean, you could just use a regular hole punch at home, but this is just a really good little tool if you're into that, you know, crafting and things. I've got the link to this in the episode notes below, and then I've got a little tassel which I'm just going to loop, and you know, every bookmark needs a tassel and every bookmark needs a book, and oh, look at that, this is a nice book, isn't it? Birds, Bees and Blossoms, my second book, full of lovely things to paint. Maybe the ideal accompaniment to your Mother's Day gift / card. So in it goes. Whoops. And there we have your ideal Mother's Day gift. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed that one. I want to say a huge thank you to our patrons for their support, because that support enables us to keep creating videos like these that everyone can enjoy. And if you enjoyed it, then hit the like button and comment below to let me know how you got on with that one. And of course, if you never want to miss another video, just hit the subscribe button and the little notification bell, and we'll see you again next time. Bye!